1. This happened to me about 2 years ago, but I've just been reminded and feel that an adequate amount of time has passed, so I will share it with you all. This post contains queasy-inducing content, so be warned. I don't wish to give out too many details, but roughly 2 years ago I got an internship at a firm in my city. I was definitely the youngest in the office at the time, and this was my first time being in such an environment. Being young and now with a decent salary, naturally I had been taking advantage of my new monetary advances and had been enjoying the city's nightlife with friends. I want to say that I am not superstitious, but this event occurred on the eve of Friday the 13th, and ever since I have remained vigilant to never repeat this again. It was a Thursday afternoon, and I had finished early. I didn't have much work left, so I called up my bestie and we decided to make dinner with some drinks. One thing led to another, and before we knew it, we had cleared an entire bottle of vodka with dinner. This was my first screw-up. At this point, naively believing that we weren't drunk enough, another friend called us and invited us out to the club her boyfriend managed. Since we would be drinking for free, and our night seemed young, we headed out and had a great time. Or so we thought before heading back home. Second bad decision of the night. At this point, I was insanely drunk and passed out the second we got back to my friend's place. Usually, after a night like this, I would have preemptively eaten and drank a ton of water to lessen any morning after effects. But my body was done, and it was lights out for me. You see where this is going. The next morning, I woke up feeling horrid. I immediately puked next to my friend's bed and had to run up to the sink to throw up the rest. I checked the clock and realized I had to be in the office in 30 minutes, so I quickly cleaned up and headed back to the office. At this point, I should have called in sick, but I thought that since I had thrown up already, I would be fine. Oh, how wrong I was. Sitting on the train, I already started feeling woozy. As I got out, I literally projectile vomited onto the street as I headed from the station to the office building. Again, I really should have stopped myself, but again, thinking that must have been all of it, I entered the office. I thought to myself that I needed some food in me to stabilize my insides. So I found some leftover tomatoes and cucumbers to eat with a coffee. This was where the story starts to hurt my conscience. Not recognizing the acidity of the coffee and tomatoes, I went back to my desk thinking I would just take it easy. But my body had other plans as I stared at my screen and started to feel nauseous again. In a mixture of fading in and out of consciousness and holding back more vomit, I braced myself at my desk. However, for some reason, this day was also a grad student touring day, and my coworker showed up with maybe 15 students in tow right by my desk. Since I was young and an intern, she started introducing me, but my body snapped. I felt my mouth start to salivate, and I knew what was coming. I jumped up and said, "Sorry, gotta go," and sped to the bathroom. It was too late. Right as I reached for the bathroom handle, I felt it. My hand flew up to cover my mouth, but that just made what happened even worse. I threw up with such force that the puke sprayed against my hand and flew everywhere. Against my clothes, the wall, and the carpeted floor. At this moment, another intern had just turned the corner and witnessed what can only be described as a scene from a horror movie. She looked in shock as I stood there and said, "Are you okay?" I looked up. "Nope," I said, and proceeded to enter the bathroom. Bless his soul, my supervisor was in that day, so I called him from the bathroom begging for help. Thankfully, he had an extra shirt for me and showed up with a whole ventilator mask as he threw the shirt from a distance and told me to go home. I left as fast as I could and got a car to take me back. This was also a terrible idea because the car made me more nauseous and I threw up 2 more times before arriving home. I ended up sitting alone, ashamed and feeling like death, contemplating my existence. 2. So a little backstory. I had been constipated for 3 days. Nothing was coming out. Then today my body decided it was finally go time, right as I was getting ready for a run at the park. Of course, being at a public park, the only option was one of those grimy public restrooms. Gross, I know. I went in and quickly realized there was just one stall and one urinal. No ventilation. Just a humid, muggy, stale-aired box of shame. About 15 minutes into what I'll generously call my bathroom adventure, woohoo, I heard a crowd approaching the door. The second it opened, I realized, field trip, 6th grade boys. Now, if you've ever been around middle schoolers, you know subtlety is not their strong suit. The first wave walked in and immediately the gagging started. Oh my God! This is the worst thing I've ever smelled! What is that? They were dramatic, but honestly, I couldn't blame them. I'd been brewing that situation for 3 days. But it didn't stop there. The kids just kept coming. It was like a clown car of chaos. Every new group came in, got hit with the stench wall, gagged, screamed, and then ran out to warn the next wave. All the while, I'm in the stall, silently praying for mercy, trying not to laugh or break composure. Since there was only one urinal, the poor kids had to wait in line. Inside. One by one, they were forced to endure the hell I'd created, gagging, talking, wondering aloud what sort of demon had done this. And it was me, just me, stewing in the shame, trying to keep it together. Eventually, the stream of kids slowed, but by now everyone knew how bad it smelled, and they were all waiting right outside the door. I knew it, they knew it. We were all aware of the showdown that was about to happen. Finally, I emerged. There was one chaperone inside, washing his hands. He turned, looked at me, and gave me a face of pure disgust, like I had personally betrayed his faith in humanity. I washed my hands, fixed my hair, and walked out with pride, and then went on my run. I, a 19-year-old male, just had easily the biggest screw-up of my entire life. I just bought a house, as I was very fortunate to get a full scholarship to the university I attend. My father had saved some money for me to go to school, but with the scholarship that was no longer necessary, so he just let me have the money as he thought I was still entitled to it. With my savings, I was able to afford a down payment on a cute little home. I planned to pay off the mortgage and utilities using the rent money from my roommates. With that backstory out of the way, we cut to last Friday, May 16th. Right now I live with one other person, Lenore. Lenore notified me that there was no hot water, and unfortunately I had just gone to visit my parents for the weekend, so there was nothing I could do to help. I told her to hang tight and that I'd be back Monday evening. It was a holiday, so no work. Cut to Monday, and there was nothing my father or I could do, so I decided to call a plumber to come and check it out. After finally finding a plumber who dealt with gas water heaters, I scheduled him to come at around 3 on Tuesday. I had to leave work early to do this, but I told my boss I would just work from home for those 2 hours, and he was fine with that. The plumber arrives and looks at the water heater for about 1 minute before turning to me, saying that it's 15 years old. There are at least 3 things he needs to replace, and they should be replaced every 10 years. He said it would cost about 3/4 of the price of a new one to replace the parts, and that I'd be better off just buying a new one. The new one would cost $4,500, and he gave me an off-the-books tip that I shouldn't rent as I'll just lose money in the long run. I called my father, and he said that we'd have to do it as I need hot water. So I e-transferred the plumber $2,500 and said I'd send the other $2,000 the next day. This hurt because I don't have that kind of money. Didn't leave a ton of room for error with the whole house thing, but my parents said they'd help out a bit. After about an hour of sitting with this, it occurred to me that I probably just made a huge mistake, and that I should just rent instead, as I'm planning to sell the place when I'm done with my degree. I called my dad again, and he agrees that I should cancel the water heater. So I called the plumbing company, and they say that I can cancel, but they're keeping half of my $2,500. Well, that sounds like theft to me. I told them, no, that's stupid. You showed up and told me the water heater was broken, which I already knew. I agreed to a $149 service fee, but you can't keep half of my money. The guy I called says he needs to talk to a supervisor and that they'd call me back. Cue the supervisor calling back and saying the same thing, that they can't give a refund. They can, they're choosing not to. My dad told me about the Customer Protection Act, where a person who signs a contract is entitled to a full refund within 10 days if the contract was signed in the home. So I quote the act to the supervisor and he says he'll call me back. So now I'm out $2,500 in my account, and I still don't have hot water. The next day, I get a call early in the morning from their manager, and he says he'll give me a full refund minus $149. So that's good. Now I don't have to go to small claims court. Unfortunately, the refund will take up to 10 business days. I also made sure to get the confirmation of the refund in writing. Then I made an appointment to get a rental, and on Thursday a guy showed up to install my heater. Once again, I have to leave work midway through the day. I am immediately told that he can't drain the old heater because there's nowhere to drain the water. I say I have a hose, and the hose does in fact reach my door, but just barely. My small porch is made of wood, and the water heater guy said he couldn't do it because the water would get on the wood, and apparently there's rust in the water. I offered a tarp, and he said it's company policy not to be allowed to do that because, apparently, some guy sued after being damaged in a similar situation. I don't have a car, and I had a work meeting online in an hour after I was told I needed a longer hose. So I couldn't get the hose immediately and would have to wait until the next day to get the heater installed. I made the over an hour-long journey to get the hose. It was raining, and I was very unhappy. When I got home from the store, I called the water heater company and scheduled an appointment for today. Now, to add insult to injury, I notice the hose is freezing, and I figure out that the furnace is also not working. Like, what are the odds? I buy a house and everything breaks immediately. I'm not as worried because we're heading into summer, but still, this is another issue I have to fix. Cut to today, and I had to get off work early again. The same guy shows up, drains the heater, and everything is going smoothly. He bangs on my wall, getting the heater in place, but I don't care. I just want the heater installed. He finally gets it installed and then tells me there's no gas running to the place, and he can't start it. Of course he can't. I'm not even upset anymore, so I called the utility company to learn that the gas is completely off to my house due to a planned outage. You guessed it, last Friday. I was apparently notified of this outage, and it was my responsibility to get an appointment to turn the gas back on. This sounds somewhat familiar, and I dig through my recycling to find a letter from the town. I didn't read the whole thing. I thought it just said that the gas would be shut off, and I assumed they'd turn it back on. No, it's my responsibility. I get the guy from my utility company to turn everything back on, and he does an entire gas appliance inspection, as that was part of the reason they shut the gas off. Which I didn't know about because I didn't read the letter. Of course, the water heater guy installed the heater incorrectly, and the control panel is facing into the wall so you can't access it. He also didn't sign his name on the card that stated who serviced the heater last. So now I get a citation to fix these two things, along with some other minor issues by July 1st. There is a silver lining to all this. The heater was quite old and would have needed to be replaced soon. But still, I did all this to now have to rent a water heater, not have my money from the plumber back, buy a new hose, and lived with no heat or water for a week because I didn't read the mail. And yes, I did tell my roommate all this, took $100 off her rent, and she found it humorous while thinking I'm an idiot. I don't think I'm gonna live this one down. 4. Alright kids, strap in because this one is a bit screwy. And if it reads like some Looney Tunes crap, that's because it is, and it felt as such while it was happening too, but mainly when it ended, and the fog cleared. I also just recovered from the chaos, and am now sat down in the lovely aroma of lavender pine sol. Anyway, this happened about an hour ago. I went to go pee, door open no problem, but actually, slight problem. My girlfriend and I own a 1-year-old female cat, who has a knack for wandering into the bathroom and brushing against our legs while we're on the pooper. She also likes to commit acts of mischievous hijinks while we're not around, like digging up used Q-tips and playing with them. So once again, I go to pee. I'm stood up, going about my business when Gracie, the cat, walks in and starts brushing against my legs as per usual. Whatever. Could have done that at any point while I was cooking dinner earlier, but hey, alright. Now, I didn't see this next bit coming, This is where the cart flies off the rails. To preface the impending chaos, Gracie has a water bowl that dispenses water, so she maintains no aversion to running streams. Or at least that's a deduction I've made irrelevant to peeing in a toilet. But she's sitting by, watching, as cats do. But doesn't this cat grab onto the rim of the toilet bowl and investigate my stream? It was so sudden and so fast. In a state of, oh crap, my leg bumps my already unsecured toilet, has a little shake in it, and the toilet lid falls shut, mid-pee. Somewhere between bumping my leg and the lid closing, I 1000% pee on Gracie for all of a split second before she bellows this disturbed meow, meow, and runs out of the bathroom. After that, it's just urine to porcelain and paint everywhere. Between my inability to think straight and the unbridled chaos spray, you'd think my penis was possessed by Disney writers. Keep in mind, this is all on the downswing of my pee, which lasted less than 4 seconds. But oh my god, it felt like I was going for an eternity, and I didn't know what to do. In the midst of panic, I didn't want to touch the toilet lid because it had pee on it. I wasn't going to pee in the sink because that's where my girlfriend and I do our skincare and brush our teeth. Suffice to say that after ruining the next toilet paper rolls in the queue and decking every conceivable surface in the washroom below waist level, I finally decided to pee in the garbage bin. And that's it. And if you're wondering why I didn't just pinch it and finish after manning up and opening the lid, I wondered too. But I must emphasize how much I wasn't thinking as the event unfolded. Again, this story is actually less than 10 seconds. 5. Imagine me, a really happy, fun-loving Asian dude named Tony, who never smoked weed before in his life, gets offered a hit from his friend Kevin at a function. So I'm just like, screw it, sure, I'll finally try it, why not? But don't mess me up too hard. And then my friend Kevin is like, aight, bet. So then he tells me to take a hit of his pen. I take a small hit and exhale immediately. Don't even inhale. Barely any smoke. Kevin tells me, Tony, you're barely hitting it. You gotta keep hitting it until the light blinks. I'm thinking, okay, there's a method to this. I'll try again. Halfway through it hits me, and I want to stop, but I keep going and look up with a scowl and wide eyes at Kevin. Right when the light starts blinking, I exhale and I start dying. And when I say dying, I mean dying, not coughing, dying. It hurt so bad. I'm high AF for the first time ever. I'm thinking about my mom, and when's the last time I called her? The music is morphing with my inner dialogue, and I feel as if I'm talking to God himself. Hello. All the while hacking up a lung as I run to the bathroom and throw up in the toilet. My friends were chasing me to see where I was going, and were laughing in hysterics around me as I'm barfing. I look up at the squad. What the hell did you do to me? Kevin wipes some tears from his eyes, and in between laughing fits, he says, Bro, I'm sorry. You weren't hitting it right, but I didn't know how bad that blinker would hit you. I'm so sorry, man. Who am I? I asked. I genuinely forgot. God was telling me we're all connected, all parts of each other. I could have been Kanye West for all I knew. What? Bean, one of the other friends at the kickback, said, sharing a glance with Kevin. I don't remember who I am or where I am. I recognize you guys, though. You're my mother effing boy Bean. But Kevin, best believe we have beef now, I stammered. Kevin shrugged his shoulders and stretched his arms out. You asked for it, homie. Not this. Ever this. The boys then sort of realized the severity of the situation and moved me to a couch. As they laid me down, they realized that I was almost unconscious, but they started recording anyway. Hey, Tony, how you doing, man? Bean razzed me. Hungry, please. Food, pizza, anything, please, I murmured. I had never been this hungry in my life, but I couldn't move. We'll make you some food, Tony. Give it a sec, Bean said to me. Hey, how many hits you take, Tony? Kevin asked. F you, Kevin. 2 hits. I gasped as I had a vivid flashback to exploding my lung. 2 hits? How you feeling now? Kevin exclaimed. I don't respond, and instead opened my eyes as red as a matador's cape. Man, the saying is puff puff pass, not puff puff pass out. You know what, from now on I'm gonna start calling you 2-Hit Tony, Kevin continued. Alright, 2-Hit Tony, I like that, it has a ring to it, Bean said. You good, Tone? I was now unconscious. He's asleep, Bean said. Good night, 2-Hit Tony. Rest in peace, you sweet angel. They stopped recording and posted the video on TikTok, and quickly it went semi-viral. When the video started going viral, my friends realized it could be a bad thing, and took it down. Hope there's still no footage out there of it. Hellfreezer's note, I've looked it up, and what your friend, Kevin, said was dangerous advice, unhealthy advice. Apparently taking a blinker hit involves taking a prolonged drag from your vape pen until the automatic shut-off feature is triggered, causing the device to blink. This results in an extended, vapor-dense pool that produces large plumes of smoke, and is certainly not something a first-timer should be doing. As your friend does sound like he's experienced, he knew what he was doing, and that was deliberately bad advice, which did harm you. He might be a friend, but he's certainly not a good one. User here, and thank you very much for listening to Embarrassing Stories, episode 120. And thank you very much to everyone who allowed me to use their stories. Please do hit the like button before you go, and consider subscribing. That helps YouTube recommend the videos to other people. If you'd like to support the channel and get early access to the videos at once on a Monday, you can do that by signing up for my Patreon page and supporting as much as you're comfortable doing. It's all very helpful. You can also buy some merchandise on my merchandise store on Teespring. All that and other good stuff is linked in the description. Okay, no more business, so let's move along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question comes from Newcomb via the Discord, and what is the reason you like a song? Is it the music or the lyrics? Speaking personally, it's both. I think both have to work very well together. There are some songs that don't need lyrics, where the tune is just, it pulls you in. And there certainly are some songs where the lyrics are somewhat irrelevant when they're not very deep or complicated. But by and large, the music and lyrics work together as a team for me. Let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, we'll take a look at the answer of the day from a previous video. And this one came from Embarrassing Stories 119, and it was about cooking mishaps that actually turned out rather well. And today's answer comes from Annie Northman. I followed a BuzzFeed Tasty recipe for a cinnamon roll poke cake. I miscalculated the butter measurement, but it still tasted delicious. More cinnamony than I'd like, but still edible. Made it properly next time, still delicious. Thank you very much for your answer, Annie Northman. And with that, as the birds are chirping and the sky's getting lighter outside, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.